Welcome everyone, I'm Tassenix, and we're covering another mod guide video, this time on Maul. I've been working through the Seer Junda unaligned force user faction, and folks asked that I cover his use there, because there is a great punch-up case for having Maul in that team. However, he's usually found elsewhere, and I thought that I should cover kind of all those cases and let you make the most informed decision about how you want to mod him. That said, we're going to do things a little bit outside of the usual order. I'm going to start with his kit, break it down, then we'll talk about the leaderships where that's applied, and go from there. Alright, so we're going to start differently than I usually do. I usually like to cover uniques, because uniques help you understand the rest of the kit before you go through it. In this case, we actually want to start with the basic. Crushing Blow. Deal physical damage to target enemy. If this is the first attack Maul used during his turn, Maul gains 1 stack of Anguish, the unique effect, stacking, maximum of 5 stacks, and if it critically hits, Maul gains a 2nd stack of Anguish, another stack. Alright, Anguish is defined as this character takes damage at the start of their turn equal to 2% of their maximum health per each stack of Anguish, so maximum of 10%. And that character then gains that much offense. So however much damage they took, they gain that much offense until the end of their turn. This character can't be defeated by this damage. So if you're low health when you start, taking damage from Anguish, it can push you to the brink, but it won't kill you. But anything like damage over time could. So keep that in mind. Alright, his first special, Fervent Rush. Dispel all buffs on the target enemy. Deal physical damage to all enemies, and inflict offense down for 2 turns. This attack deals 5% more damage for each buff dispelled. Maul gains 2 stacks of Anguish, stacking, max of 5, and if an enemy was defeated by this attack, Maul instead gains the maximum stacks of Anguish. Alright, now we're gonna really get cooking. This is his second special, the defining move of his kit, Seething Rage. Deal true damage to target enemy, and inflict buff immunity for 2 turns. If Maul has 5 Anguish, increase target enemies' cooldowns by 2, excludes raid bosses and galactic legends. Maul loses 1 stack of Anguish and takes a bonus turn. This attack can't be countered. So it's important to recognize that every time you use this ability, it has the opportunity to apply buff immunity, but only at 5 stacks do you get to do the cooldown increase. And as we'll see, there's importance to how you get to choose that as we look at the unique. Anyway, latter part of this ability says, each time this ability is used, it deals 60% more damage on subsequent uses and increases by an additional 60% until Maul uses a different ability during this turn. During his turn. And this ability can't be used unless Maul has Anguish. So every time you're using it, it is decreasing your Anguish count by 1, so you can build up to a maximum of 5. You can blow through all 5, and as you're doing it, it's just ramping damage. It's getting huge. And this is all true damage, right? Okay. So, up until this point, we just kind of know that true damage scales off of offense. So it sounds like this guy's a pretty big beneficiary from offense, right? Alright, let's talk about his unique next and his leadership last. Maul's attacks can't be evaded, and he has plus 15% offense. At the start of battle, Maul gains Frenzy and Retribution for 2 turns and 3 stacks of Anguish, stacking max of 5. If there is an enemy Kenobi of any kind, that can be Old Ben, Jedi Master Kenobi, the new Padawan Obi-Wan, all of these and any others will apply. So if an enemy Kenobi of any kind is present at battle start, Maul instead gains the maximum stacks of Anguish. So instead of 3, straight to 5. While Maul has 3 or more Anguish, he is immune to stun and ability block. While he has 5 Anguish, he ignores taunt effects and is always critically hit by enemy attacks. So we saw with Seething Rage that when he has 5 stacks, it says that you can increase target non-galactic legend and non-raid boss characters' cooldowns by 2, right? And this is what tells us that we get to also ignore taunt at 5 stacks. What may not be initially clear is that the cooldown increase always works. So if JMK just used his reset on Cat, and Cat has damage immunity, and she hasn't gone yet and dropped that damage immunity, Maul at 5 stacks still can use that first push on her through damage immunity and all, and increase those cooldowns by 2, and then, go after whoever he wants to, wherever he has to. But what's also interesting, this last clause on the unique says that while he's at 5 stacks, he can, anything that can critically hit him will. So there can be strategic reasons why you might push down 2 stacks and then use Fervent Rush, which grants you 2 back, but also dispels an enemy. So you might want to dispel a taunt off of a tank and then use all 5 stacks going after a priority target. You could see that there's a strategic reason to not necessarily always blow all 5 stacks as soon as you get them. But so long as you're holding 5, you're vulnerable. Literally. It's like having the vulnerable debuff on you. It's basically what that is. Alright. Last, let's talk about his leadership and then the other leaderships where he might be applied. Alright, Maul's lead is called Usurper. Mandalorian allies have plus 5% max health for each Mandalorian ally at the start of battle and plus 25% offense. At the start of battle, if Maul is in the leader slot, not the ally slot, Mandalorians in the leader slot gain 1 stack of Mandalore, stacking, max of 2, until they are defeated, which can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented. When a character with Mandalore is defeated, the character that defeated them gains Mandalore until they're defeated. There can't be more than 2 Mandalore effects in battle. Mandalorian allies deal 20% more damage when they target an enemy with Mandalore. While there are 2 Mandalore buffs on allied characters, all Mandalorian allies deal 50% more damage during their turn. And the Mandalore effect itself is defined as Mandalorian allies assist, dealing 50% less damage when this character uses an ability during their turn. At the start of every turn, dispel all debuffs on the healthiest Mandalorian ally without Mandalore, and that ally gains taunt and 100% defense until the end of that turn. Defeating this character will grant Mandalore to the character that defeated them, and if this character is defeated by a status effect, Mandalore will not be granted to anyone. So basically, if Lord Vader were fighting this and damage over time killed the Maul, not an actual strike from the character, nobody gets it. It just fizzles out. Okay? So, a plain reading of his own kit within itself would basically say, okay, yeah, we want to stack a ton of offense. He gets 15% for free. Under his own lead, it's another 25%, a total of 40%. He converts health into more offense per stack of Anguish, so that means we want health as well. So like a circle of health and then offense primaries everywhere is one way to go. We'll cover that in more detail when we get to the modding section itself. But that's his first lead, his own that you can run him with. These are basically the 2 other main comps that I would expect to see Maul with. And these teams, by the way, are shown in terms of turn order, not obviously leadership. But on the Seer Junda team, he's going to end up being decently fast, and that's okay, because he'll use middle, set himself up, and then literally any other character going is going to basically have him pop off. We'll talk about how this team gets used more in applications, but in terms of turn order, this is what you're looking at. Under his own leadership, he's great with these dark side Mandalorians, very effective. In 3 versus 3, you're often seeing him Malgar, ISC, highly destructive. But, for information on the Seer leadership where it's applying to Maul, I'm just going to flash this summary that I've been using in the last couple videos. But if you want real detail about how this interacts, check out the Seer Junda video. The link to that video will be in the description here. So that'll get you filled in. But the bottom line, the real takeaway in terms of modding Maul is that Seer Junda League gives like 70% added max health and protection. So as we were talking, seems like we'd want to go in the health way, right? And then he has the opportunity to stack offense and crit damage depending on how many enemy characters go before the first character on his team would go. Again, all these clauses are kind of assuming that you're running around with an unaligned force user team entirely under Seer Lead. Okay, Last leadership is that, in fact, Maul was kind of a lifter unit for Lord Vader. It was one of the biggest complaints. Like, the meme was Lord Failure, right? That he was just kind of butts, especially on defense, and then not very efficient banners-wise on offense. That said, Maul really changed the game in terms of accelerating Lord Vader's ultimate game, but there's a nuance to how we mod him, okay? Lord Vader's leadership says dark side allies have plus 20 speed, plus 20% mastery, and plus 15% max health, doubled for Empire or dark side unaligned force user allies, like Maul. Alright? At the start of battle, other Empire and dark side unaligned force user allies lose all protection and gain that much max health. If a dark side unaligned force user ally was present at the start of battle, for the rest of the battle, Empire dark side unaligned force user allies take 30% reduced damage from enemy light side unaligned force user attacks, blah, 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 blah. Alright, the rest of this stuff is great for the Lord Vader lead, but it's not really material to the Maul modding. What's important to recognize here is that you gain that. In this case, because he's an unaligned force user, it's not 15% max health, it's 30, right? So the way that this executes, and thanks to my Discord community for verifying this today, but the Lord Vader leadership's max health gain applies first. So your Maul's base health will be increased by 30%. Then whatever your protection is gets added on top of that. So you don't get to really like double dip, but that's okay, all right? The idea is that in the case of Lord Vader, there's a real an argument to be made for protection primaries instead of something like offense primaries everywhere. All right? So, that said, that brings us to his modding. I wanted to cover, there's basically how you would mod him for use with Lord Vader specifically versus anywhere else. I actually will just show the primaries. So this is the Lord Vader primaries. If this was anything but Lord Vader, I think this would probably be offense. This would otherwise be offense, otherwise be offense, otherwise be health. But this isn't what's really going to be helpful to you. It's going to be the comparison about how we do these. So let me pull that up. I got that prepared for you guys. Where you at? Where did I put you? Okay. All right. So, you might be wondering, whoa, Tass, do you have to have your Maul so fast to 330? Well, no. I'd say the minimum would be 280. 300 is a great spot. I think that's a really great minimum to keep. I don't think I've ever preferred to run mine slower than 300. But that being said, there's no reason to not have him faster. Like, I think 330 is great. You know, pushing 340 is what some of the top accounts of the game are. You don't need to be so fast, but the more speed is generally good, with the sole exception of being under Seer lead. And that is the one drawback. Because I don't recommend him being much slower than like 280. Otherwise, it's kind of not great when he doesn't have Frenzy. That means that your Seer team isn't going to get a lot of that stack bonus out of her lead. So that's the one drawback regardless using it. But we'll discuss that. Anyways, you can see that it's kind of a before and after. I was showing what it would look like if I switched him into the offense mod. So I keep him as a default in the Lord Vader mods because I personally am, at least for 5 vs 5, generally using Lord Vader with Maul, you know. And in 3 vs 3, I can break them apart much more easily. So I would say in the case for 3 vs 3, if you're the type that likes to switch your modding between them, technically I'd say there's a better case for just going into this more offensive modding. All right. What's really going to be cool is let me just read this out, and then I'm going to show you what the difference is about Anguish. All right, the way Anguish gives you offense. So if I'm running in this protection modding, you see that I've got super high protection. That's all getting converted. I kept both moddings right about 330. Okay, and you can see in the protection modding I have considerably less offense, but I tried to not go under 10,000. This is at Relic 9 though. So, you know, Relic 8, you figure it's only a few hundred going from 8 to 9 for offense, but then from 7 to 8 is Could be about 700 offense with like offense primaries, something like that. So, you know, call it 1,000. Say maybe if you're like Relic 7 Maul, maybe something like 9,000 offense as the floor if you're in this kind of protection style modding. But then you want to just bulk out with protection primaries all the way around, okay? So have a decent base offense regardless, and bulk up over that, and try not to be below 300, but if you had to, not slower than 280, all right? Now, as far as this offense modding goes, we switch it up quite a bit, right? We go from, instead of 4 protection primaries all the way around, now we go to a health primary circle and then offense primaries for cross, triangle, and arrow. About 87,000 health and 12,000 offense. Again, this is Relic 9, so figure maybe Relic 7 in really just tip-top shape mods, something maybe like 11k, high 10,000, somewhere around there, all right? Now, here's where we start to have a little bit of fun. Let me pull up the calculator. Okay. So let's talk about how this is going to work. If you're going to have him in the offense modding, which I would use for either under Seer lead or under his own leadership, then you're going to have a base offense of 12,140 in this example, using this sample modding that I've come up with. You've got 87,000 health. So you'd have, with 5 Mandalorians under his own leadership, he'd have 25% max health, okay? So we could consider that, but let's take the larger case. What if he's under Seer Junda leadership, and that's actually 70% increased max health and protection with her Omicron in Grand Arena. So let's go ahead and take his base health here in the offense modding, 87093 times 1.7, 148,000. So now let's go ahead and find out if he had 5 stacks of anguish, what kind of offense gain would he have, right? We'll do this times 0.02. That gives us a value just under 3,000 offense per stack of anguish, okay? And that times 5 is 14,805. So plus his base offense, 12140. So he's starting off, if he's at 5 stacks and ready to go and start pushing and stacking up that Seething Rage damage, his initial offense is just under 27,000 in this setup, in this more offense setup. It sounds incredible, right? Now, we recognize that as you're pushing down your anguish, you're doing less damage to yourself, right? You're also gaining less offense from that, but you're more than offsetting it because of the 60% ramping damage from using consecutive bumps of Seething Rage. All right, so we'll just keep this number in our head as like, okay, this is kind of our starting figure for how high we are with offense at the start of our ramp, okay? And then we go up from there, because even though we lose that little bit of bonus, the 60% stacking way outpaces it, okay? All right, now the protection way. So this is specifically made for Lord Vader, right? We concede that if this is not under Lord Vader, then okay, we're going to have less offensive throughput because we kind of put our eggs in one particular basket, having this protection primary modding all the way around. But that said, let's assume it's under Lord Vader leadership, so that's a 30% increase of max health. We take 76147 times 1.3. All right, just under 99,000. Then plus 146,521. We get to add in the protection on top of it because it gets converted into health under Lord Vader's lead. So now we have that as our basis to take our anguish figure. This time 0.02. Oop. I think I hit that number twice. Did I? Hold on. No. I think it just executed once. That's okay. Wait. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I hit the wrong button. Yeah. So it's 4910.242, just to be right on the nose. And then that times 5, right? So it's 24,000 added from the anguish bonus in this case, compared to 14,000 otherwise in that offense modding, okay? So even though we have 2,000 less base offense, whoa, do we more than compensate for it? Literally, like just under 10,000, like 9,800, 9,700 offense difference. Okay, so this gets added to his base offense of 10,087. And his final figure for starting off for his set of 5 pushes is 34,638 compared to 26,945.81, just to be right on the nose, for a difference of just under 7,700 offense. Okay? That's quite a bit when it adds up being true damage. So you can see that, these are really excellent mods that I've worked on for him. They're fast. They've got high protection baked into the secondaries, as well as offense. Some health to boot to feed into the anguish through the other avenue. But you can see that idea behind, not only do we get so much offensive throughput from going into this protection modding, it literally is more survivability, so much more survivability than going for pure offense modding under Lord Vader. So that's what I found long term. I used to really like this offense style modding, but with the offense primaries. But then I found when I was using him under Lord Vader, and over time I saw myself using him in more and more often with Lord Vader, especially in 5 vs 5. It was like, man, he just falls over too easy. It's just not working out. And then I saw some other players running this protection build, and like, I'm gonna go for it. And then I saw what it was. I mean, I was so much more durable. I was so much more powerful. I was leaning into what he was about. So that said, I myself personally prefer to run in these, so-called Lord Vader mods regardless. It is just such a huge, overwhelming advantage. And then wherever else I'm using him, there's other characters that sweeten the deal. I'm not relying on the overwhelming offense of Maul to get the job done wherever he is otherwise. So, all that said about the mods, gosh, that was fun. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Applications and team comps, with that, let me kill this. Okay. So, in the Seer Malicos team, Maul is really great for taking on Rey. This is about the biggest punch-up for this Seer team. And the real advantage here is that, Maul has the ability to dispel a taunt. Like, he can do push, have 2 chances to apply buff immunity to a tank, let's say, and then dispel that taunt, and then that tank can't immediately get taunt back, and then the next time he comes around for a turn, Maul, he's able to drop a 5-stack on a priority target. That's great, but Terran Malicos hands out taunt ignore, I believe, right? But more importantly, Terran Malicos also assists. Let's see, he does that. Where's this one? I feel like it's in there. Don't want to talk directly out of my rear. Is it in here and I just missed it? Oh, it's the can't be revived. So that was me speaking untruths. So you do have to respect taunts necessarily with Maul, but Terran Malicos assists, and he ramps his own damage by doing this. It makes it so much more powerful to use this Maul, to make sure that your team is going to do it. So let's say, like, you can absolutely take on Rey without Maul. I personally don't favor this strategy, but I understand why you would do it if you were wanting to use your Seer to fight a Rey that has superior modding or relics, where you feel like you know what you're doing with this counter, you like to fight Rey in general, but you need the extra oomph to seal the deal. This will get you there. And I do recommend either Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum or OG Cal in this team. If he's in this team instead, I'd have him paced just after Seer Junda and be just completely wood slow. That said, though, either composition can take on Rey. And so that's what Maul's for. In this case, I'll look this up. I'll look this one up. Let me pull this on screen for you guys. When Maul is a leader, so he can take on Rex Krex 5s. Yes, he can take on Gas, Arc Echo. This is well known, of course. Nothing new there. Can be risky against Finns. That's fine. Saw this season without the Turbo Chiricron makes sense. This would take on Trench of both kinds. Very smooth. CLS. So much more. And this is just going to Swugga.gg and looking at who to attack, filtered for data for just this season. You could go back further in time to get more ideas, but you're basically overwhelming them with true damage. And this could be another separate conversation about GAR and ISC, about how to mod them, but the bottom line is they end up dealing true damage on assists, and we saw that Maul's leadership causes assists, so seems intuitive. Whole bunch of stuff. Look at this. Yeah, Radis, Keller and Beck. I believe it. I absolutely believe it. And then in 5s, people like him against Gas. I think this is a huge overkill going after Radis like this, but it was dope that you could do this against the Saw team at the height of its power with Chirrut. Oh, wow. Well, that was... All right. That was a 90% win rate with Lord Vader somehow cooked in the mix. 87% win rate without him. I think I'd probably take that risk if I were sowing... Oh, that's against Gas. Yeah, that's not the best. Yes, Tuskens, but Tuskens is kind of a whatever team in 5s. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can take on all this kind of stuff. Let's see, what else is it really good against? Yeah, you can... Django. Yeah, see what I'm saying? Like, these teams are okay. Yeah, you have a middling win rate against good teams, starting with, like, Gas and going on up, right? It can be amazing for a cleanup, of course, something like that. So, yeah, against, like, Rex, Krex, and all those teams in 3s and whatever, it's okay. I'll sometimes do it to mix it up, throw off my opponents. In general, though, I'm feeling like I keep my Maul set up to be with your boy Lord Vader. So, yeah. And generally, I'm setting that team on defense. And, we'll see what opponents like to use against that. All right, guys. This was a longer one, but that's the price of being thorough and actually giving you guys, hopefully, what I'm hoping is an intuition on how to mod this character and, take it in the direction that you're going to use. Good luck to you with that. And I'm still thinking about how I'm going to set up this video for the last couple of characters that you can use in the Seer Squad. But just like how I wrapped up the Mandos, we'll probably just cover those last few characters all in one go and make it make sense. Thank you, as always, for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel to see more. As always, I appreciate your comments. You guys have been so great with the feedback. Really appreciate it. The channel is growing. Like, we've had... for a channel that's been around for a couple of years to get up to 500 subs, we've had over 100 subs to the YouTube channel in just under a month. So really appreciate it, and there's a lot of support and interest for these. Thank you, guys. I'm going to keep it up. Until next time, it's been real. It's been awesome. It's been real awesome. Take care.